All right, guys, here we go. Whether you believe in climate change or not, this is the reality that's going to happen. And I'm going to explain what this means for a lot of people coming up here in the very near future. Okay, so you can go view that Washington Post article about how a lot of insurers are going to be yanking coverage for natural disasters. So you'll have base home insurance, but most likely things like flood, hurricane, hail, wind. They don't say anything about flood, but specifically say hurricane, hail, and wind are in there that they will no longer be covering in these states. They're dropping those people. Now, this means a couple of different things. First and foremost, that means when these policies expire, and remember, usually most people are in a 6-month policy if they're paying for it themselves. If you have escrow, it may be a 1 year, but when that policy term is up, you're going to be beholden to the new terms of your insurer if you sign with them. This means any remaining insurers that decide to take the risk on this are going to be raising rates dramatically. This will put people out of homes right away if they cannot afford to pay for insurance premiums that have gone really high. Because whether you know it or not, insurance is kind of like a gamble for companies that they want to always win, right? Like your insurance company loves you if you never have any accidents, but when you start having accidents, they don't like you so much. And also, even if you're not at fault, if they have to pay any money out or they deem it's a risk, they just won't cover you anymore. So what does this mean in a year's time? Well, when I was younger, I always used to find it funny that people lived in like Tornado Alley and always ask why don't they move, stuff like that, or would always laugh when they say, we'll just rebuild. And I used to think it was funny they would say that. And I always wondered, how do these people rebuild? These homes are expensive. Well, now that I'm an adult, I understand. They're paying the deductible on their insurance premium. They're getting their house rebuilt or repaired or whatever. And the problem here is there will be no more rebuilding. And for a lot of people, that means they're still going to have a home loan they're paying off, and they have no home anymore, no place to live, and nothing left, no belongings or anything. And I would venture to say within a year, you're going to see a lot of people possibly homeless because they no longer have any place to live. And they're not going to be able to get a home loan anywhere else. And when they default on those loans, they're going to risk the problem of having a defaulted home loan, which is going to make renting hard. And this isn't just homeowners. This is also going to be people who rent properties out too. If you don't have disaster coverage on your rentals, you may not be able to rent for safety reasons. Or if you're still paying on that property, because a lot of people that rent property out are still paying on the properties, your bank may say that they're not going to honor that mortgage anymore if you can't get disaster insurance, which means rents are going to rise to a point where nobody can afford them even more. This is a huge issue. There needs to be some sort of national plan to cover for disasters, something that can be done better. Because private insurance companies, like every other private organization in this country, are not able to do the job because they're only interested in profit. They do not care at all about how you're doing. They may put a family forward view on things. That's advertising. They're not your family. They don't care. I lived in a townhome complex where I was on the board of directors. We had hail damage in a huge storm here in Colorado. The total damage to roofs was $3 million. This was 100 townhome units on a property. So, and this includes roofs and windows, I should specify, plus some siding. $3 million worth of damage. Our deductible was supposed to be 1% of that, which is still a hefty sum of money. The insurance company said, no, we're not honoring that anymore because we were knowing storms are coming through. We've now raised it. You need to come up with a third of that money. A third. We barely made it. And this was already a community that was struggling with financial issues due to misappropriation of funds by previous board members years before I even arrived in the community. The community had been there since the 70s. So things like that happen. I've seen it firsthand. This is going to be so bad for a lot of people in Florida. I would say places like Texas, Kansas, those kind of states, that when these disasters keep happening, they're going to have no help. None anymore. Again, like I've said in other videos, if you live in one of these states, get out. Go someplace else. Go someplace where it's safer and the insurance policies aren't affected yet and where things will be overall better for you. But this is not going to be sustainable for so many people. We're talking thousands of people that are going to become homeless if they're not already being denied coverages in their areas. So please do what you can to help yourself now.